something like that. Jeez. I wonder how the heck they got off. I guess they had to grease it up.
I have no idea. I mean, they could do what the Three Stooges used to do: use a saw and cut through it. But then you risk, Anyway, a flying taxi makes its U.S. debut in North Carolina in a demonstration. It kind of looks like a giant, what do you call those suckers? Everybody, buys drones.
Oh, okay. So I've heard about them, but I haven't seen any yet. They was talking about that. That's going to be the future is flying taxis.
With no pilot.
My question.
No pilot.
Go ahead.
There's no pilot. No pilot. Flying a taxi with no pilot made its first U.S. test flight in North Carolina with an audience of about 100 people, including state officials.
I got news for you. That is a train wreck waiting to happen because New York City alone's got more taxis than there are people, I think, in my state. So can you imagine all them drones flying around unmanned? I could just see somebody frequencies getting messed up and crashing. I don't know. I wouldn't want to ride in one. That's for sure.
I wouldn't either. Not without a pilot in it. I know. Electronics is so unreliable. Listen to our show sometimes when Skype goes down.
Yeah, even tonight, because I always test run my Skype before I call in. It was like, it rang 20 times, never rang on my phone. So then I hung up, and then, now I'm hung up, and then it rings on my phone. Now, tell me that's not weird or behind.
No, that happens to me. I'll, at the end of the show, when you disconnect you and all that stuff, and all of a sudden, it starts calling back.
Oh, my goodness. That is weird.
Yeah,
Skype's got its own personality for sure.
Yeah. Well, the pig that let a whole bunch of other piglets out of the slaughter home finds a home. Back about a month ago, a pig, broke out of a slaughterhouse and took a whole bunch of pigs with them, and they escaped. They didn't want to be, made into a ham.
Yeah, I hope they greased themselves up when they left, so it makes it hard for them to catch them. But yeah, that is amazing. Another story I was reading about, it reminded me of a story you talked about today, was a bear went into a campground and stole and drank 36 beers. And if that wasn't enough, it came back the next day and to try to do the same thing.
Well, they must have a taste for beer because, was it about a month ago, the guy, came home and here's a bear passed out on its garage floor where he kept in his man cave. He had a refrigerator in his garage, and here's this bear passed out with all these, case of beer, all, drank, all the cans on the floor. So, I mean, what you're saying is pretty much the same thing. The guy, the bear found some beer and drank it all and wanted more. What's wrong with wanting more?
Yeah, and it was like the next day, it was like he's smart bear. He knew where the beer was. He came back from another drunken session the next day. And of course, the campers, they were prepared. They didn't know the same bear would come, but they figured just in case any more bears come, or raccoons or pythons or whatever it may be, they were ready.
Well, I guess, why not in Tennessee? That's where that deputy sheriff pulled over that donkey. He thought he was drunk and gave him that sobriety test. Could you imagine, calling the sheriff and having him give a sobriety? I got a bear in my garage, passed out. Tell you,
yeah, you ever see that show where the cops have the webcam on their vest, and it's like a show that you can see their view from the web from their chest camera? I would love to see the one where they pulled over that donkey and he's giving a breathalyzer. I would love to see that. That would be bizarre.
Well, they should have had a camera on the windshield, because when they pull you over, they film you or video you. So I'm
right.
Sure, and how would you still explain that to anybody down at the precinct or the station house? Well, the donkey was walking like it was drunk, so I gave it. How can you give a donkey a sobriety test? I mean, is it going to know when you tell it to lift up one leg?
Yeah, Now say your ABCs backwards, Mr. Donkey.
Yeah, I mean, how can you actually give a sobriety test to a donkey? I mean, somebody should have gave the sobriety test to that deputy.
That's what I was thinking. You know, that story has stuck with me. I think of that story all the time. Every time I see an animal on TV, I'm like, buddy, you better not be drinking. Goodness.
I don't know. I just find that so strange of all the weird stories that come floating through here.
That was, yeah, that's one
well,
that
other than the penises in the jar, that was really a strange one. Or the guy who went to the restaurant and sat down with his newspaper or book, and a python or whatever it was decided to come out of the toilet and clamped onto him.
I got to tell you, every time I got this vision in my head because them things clamp on, they don't let go. So I can see a tug of war going on. The guy's wanting to get up, and the snake's pulling back, and the poor guy's in terror.
They don't, because like I told you years and years ago when my kids were young, they were playing down at one of the neighbors' place, which had a little creek, and there was a gardener snake. So one of the kids threw the gardener snake, and it landed on my son's nipple, and it clamped down. So I figured, okay, I'm going to remove it. I couldn't remove it. It wouldn't open its jaws. It was clamped, and my son was screaming. So I took out the Bic lighter and did that thing. The snake clamped down harder. I had to take him to the hospital.
Yeah, that is something else. You know, the vision I get, if you ever seen that movie Joe Dirt where that poor dog has got his things frozen to the porch and he's in a tug of war and they're stretching out. I can just see that poor guy with a python on the other end. God, could you imagine the PTSD he's got every time he goes into a restroom from now on? Wow.
Well, we're sitting down even in an office chair. Well, you know, you're going to look and and even if you looked, you know, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be nothing there when you look, but you sit down there for a few minutes and then something can come through like that. Other one, you know, was a week and a half ago with the rattlesnake.
Exactly. Yeah, they might be, because they like to just barely peek out. You can't see them, but then, you know, when you're sitting on there, you kind of block out the light, so that kind of sends off a signal, plus the vibration you sitting down is coming out to investigate.
And the warmth, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness, that poor guy. Oh, boy.
That really bothers you, doesn't it?
It does. I got this vision of a tug of war. The snake's going one way, and the guy's wanting to get the heck out of there, but he can't. Oh, boy.
Well, the guy probably had a special jock strap made after that, because probably they were down by his knees after that snake grabbed it.
Could you imagine that call to 911? Hey, you know, I've got a snake on.
But could you imagine calling 911, right?
Yeah, right.
And you're sitting on the pot, and a big snake is decided to come out the drain or whatever, the toilet, right? And clamp onto you. You can't get up because the little snakes are, if it's big enough to clamp onto that, that means it was a pretty good sized snake.
Right. And they get wrapped around down in the toilet. Plus them kind of snakes, they keep swallowing. So
pretty soon it would only been his head.
Pretty soon it's got the whole Franken beans. You're in trouble, buddy. Oh, my God.
That's scary. I just really wish they would have said how they got the guy off the toilet, because how do you, if the snake is clamped onto you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't sit there and jerk you off. I didn't mean it that way. Okay, let me clarify it. They can't just pull you off the toilet, okay? That's what I meant to say. Okay, well, it's one of the bloopers. That's a $75 ticket, I guarantee it. But anyway, fine. But, I mean, they can't just pull you off, right? So you're sitting there. So how are they going to get the snake to let go of your testicles?
I don't know, Gary. I got a feeling that snake probably had to be put down. And then
well, how do you do that? You're like sealed on that toilet seat.
Oh.
Okay, so you can't get any. You know what they probably had to do is bust the toilet underneath the guy.
They probably did because either that or cut the snake off at the head or something. I don't know, but I know it's a delicate operation because who knows how far down in there the snake had something swallowed.
Yeah, well, yeah. You cut the head off. Oh my God, we just removed part of the guy's testicles.
He got bobbed. Oh my goodness, that is bizarre. I'll tell you that story sticks with me. It's going to stick with me a little longer, I think, after tonight.
I didn't mean, what I said. This came out wrong. So very wrong. And I want to apologize to any women out there and guys. I didn't mean that. I meant, I've got to watch if I don't say the same thing. It makes sense, right? You want to jerk somebody off something where they don't, you want to pull them off, right? So you just going to yank them off, right? That's what I was trying to say. You took it the wrong way. But yeah, I guess it makes it more funny, doesn't it?
It's a very delicate procedure. I can see that already. Oh my God!
Could you imagine if the guy is single and he meets a girl and she goes, "Wow, where did you get those scars?
Where did you get them teeth marks?"
And he can sit there and say, "Well, I went to the bathroom in a very fancy restaurant. I sat down to, relieve myself, and a python or whatever snake decided to grab a hold of me." Now, I could see his new girlfriend saying, "I don't believe that." How much? Yeah. Was that a date that went wrong?
Right. And the 911 call, can you imagine on the other end? They probably thought he was pranking, while the guy is sitting there in pain because them snakes keep biting and keep swallowing the whole time and a tug of war going on there. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I could hear the maitre d' of the restaurant calling. 911, we got a emergency here. Yes, there's a guy in the bathroom and somehow a snake came up the toilet and grabbed his testicles, and we can't get him off the toilet. We tried jerking him off, but we couldn't pull him off the toilet.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
You know what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
I wasn't
100%.
saying that other time. I'm saying, did you yank him off the toilet? What's the one word you say? You jerk him off the toilet. You just get him off the toilet real quick. That's all.
Boy, that's going to be a delicate procedure. That poor guy, I'll tell you, I feel for him in more ways than one because his love life's got to be wrecked along with, going into any restaurants or even going to the bathroom anywhere. Geez.
Yeah, if he can. I mean, maybe it's that time he probably thought about a sex change after he got off of that.
He was probably halfway there after that incident. Gee, but he Christmas.
Well, moving right along. Okay, we're just going down the road here. A railroad track is covered with corn from a train spill that goes over 2,000 feet stretch of nothing but corn. I tell you what, the wacky news has been really wacky. There's nothing been really funny other than the guy who got his testicles, by a snake. Or the guy who collected thousands of penises.
Yeah, that one and the drunken donkey.
Yeah, that's the and that's all was in 2019 too. All these stories, wasn't it?
Yeah, those are some of the wackiest stories I've ever heard. And then you got bears drinking beer. You've got donkeys obviously drinking beer somewhere because they're walking out on the streets. You've got snakes eating people's parts in the restaurants. It's just bizarre.
Could you imagine? Okay, you have a cabin somewhere, and you only go there like once a month or so to get away from the city. And you come in there and you find your cabin is totally tore apart. And you start looking around and you can't figure out what tore it. You got holes in the wall. You have everything you could imagine tore up in the whole place, including your furniture. Well, it turned out this happened to a guy from Georgia when they returned back from their holiday vacation. A squirrel tore up the whole inside of the place. And the insurance company won't cover it because they said it's an act of God.
I knew that was coming. I seen the pictures of that right before we went on the air, and I thought, I knew Gary's going to find that one, and you did. Listen, that wasn't just a squirrel. No, no.